Hi everyone, it's great to see you. Welcome to our webinar about the value of Stressmapper, the new product that we launched recently. We're really happy that you can join. We are sure that you will find this afternoon valuable and insightful. So the same rules will apply. Peter will do the presentation, and once he has completed the presentation, then we will allow for you to unmute your microphones and ask questions. Having said that, you would have noticed that your microphone is currently in the forced mute setting. That's just to make sure that there are no interruptions. And then, as I said, as soon as Peter has finished, we will enable the setting for you to unmute your microphone, and you are then welcome to ask your questions. In the meantime, if you do have questions, you're welcome to make use of the chat. You can post your question. I will either answer the question, but I will also collate the questions and then present the questions to Peter at the end of the session. My name is Lizette de Villiers. I'll be the host. And most of you are very familiar with Peter de Villiers. He's the head of research and development at Shadowmatch, and he will be doing the presentation. Just a last comment from my side. Most of you are users on the system, meaning that you use the Shadowmatch system. So you would have received an email in the past 2 weeks with a complimentary Stressmapper worksheet link. If you have not received that link, please contact us. You can send an email to info@shadowmatch.co.za or info@shadowmatch.com, or you can even email Charmaine directly. Just notify us that you have not received your complimentary link. We would like all of you to receive that complimentary link to experience the Stressmapper worksheet. And we will obviously then also send you the instructions with the link. So please, those of you that have not received it, just check your inbox, because if you are a user on the system or a coach using the coaching platform, you would have received your free Stressmapper link. If you don't know where to find it, we can also help you. But if you are joining today and you're not a user on the system, please feel free to contact us and we will give you your complimentary link to the Stressmapper worksheet. I think from my side, that's all the important announcements and admin arrangements for now. I'm going to hand to Peter. Thank you very much, Peter. We're looking forward to the presentation.
Thanks, Lizette. Just to emphasize the fact that the first part will be the value of a tool like Stressmapper in the business environment and stress in the business environment. And the second part will be more of a training session for our coaching community. So you will also see that it's got two parts. I will stop at the end of the first part to allow for questions. How do we use it in the business, and what is the value in the business environment? And then we will carry on with the second part, which will be more of a training content for coaches. And in the November meeting with coaches, I will do more training on stress and how stress works and what it's like, etc., and also to help the coaches to get a bit of a clear picture of how to work with the principles that we follow from a research perspective. From an introduction level into stress, or onto the Stressmapper system, dear everybody, just keep in mind that it's very unfair to compare Stressmapper to Shadowmatch. Shadowmatch has got, well, initially we worked out that it's got about 93 million different combinations in terms of how somebody can answer, but we were wrong. It's 93 million times 93 million, because all those questions can be doubled if there's a single difference in the combination. With Stressmapper, it's about 25% of that. Not even. I must still work out what all the different combinations are. But Stressmapper is a very easy to use, easy to understand tool to help people understand where the stress in their lives accumulates. And in doing so, it's actually taking the first step towards getting on top of it. But with that, let's go to the content that we will work through, and then everything. Well, some of the things that I've said will be more clear and workable for everybody. So if we have a look at stress in general, in other words, let's just talk about stress as a general reality of life. Stress is a dangerous thing. Now, this is where we must start with our discussion. And I will say it again and again and again, and especially during the training on the second half of our presentation today, or our discussion, our webinar today with the coaches. Stress is a dangerous thing. We must not confuse stress with I'm irritated, I'm fed up, I'm frustrated, I'm cross with, etc. Stress is a condition, and that condition causes medical challenges in the body of the individual. It compromises our immune system, and you will see that probably everybody knows somebody who, when they are stressed, they get blisters in their mouths, or they get this, or they get this, or they get. So what stress does is it compromises our immune system. That's the first point. But it creates a medical condition in the body. And if you go and ask any medical doctor who has been in a practice for long, they will say to you, stress is a dangerous thing. It causes the body to collapse, to become compromised in the way it functions. It compromises our immune system, and then it becomes a very destructive medical condition. But more so, it has huge implications for how the brain functions. And that's where it starts. The brain becomes stressed, and then the connections between the neurons are being compromised. The interesting thing is they have now found, the current standpoint is that if people say, I have got this foggy, sort of a dull feeling in front of me around my eyes, the first indication that the brain is struggling with some form of stress. From there on, headaches, neck, shoulder, stress up in the neck and shoulder, then it moves into the body on other parts. Eventually, it compromises everything, but let's not go into the detail of that. So it's a destructive condition. Stress is not good for us. I know if you start reading about stress, they say to you that, but tennis players must be stressed to perform at their best. We must be very careful not to put the positive stress or the challenges that I take up in life and say, okay, I am stressed about the next tennis match. That's a positive energy in the body. And we frame it as stress. But it's very different to, I have an exam coming up. It's the last chance that I have to pass this exam. If I don't pass this exam, I have failed it 4 times. My career's down the tubes. It's something different. The one stressor is filled with fear and anxiety. The other one is filled with energy and winning. So we must be careful. And if somebody say to you, but stress is a good thing, just say to them, yeah. Hold on, just hold on. It all depends on what is the backing energy. The backing energy for a tennis match or a golf game or a squash match or a athletics event or an exam that I feel, yes, am I going to get 90 or 95% of this exam? I won't get less than 90%. That's something different. It's energy towards winning. And it might be a very stressful point of energy or engagement that you might experience. But if it's energy with a fear of losing and being compromised with my life and my success and progress, it's too completely. So just keep that in mind. It's expensive. It costs the South African economy about 232 billion rand a year. That's what all the numbers say. And it's been well published. It's been on the radio. It's been on all kinds of shows, and Daily Maverick published it. So the cost of stress and related issues as a result of stress runs into the 200 to 250 billion rands a year just in South Africa. In the workplace, obviously, it compromises, but we'll get to that. It compromises the success of the working community. Stress just makes life miserable. There's no other thing about it. It's just to be stressed all the time is just something miserable. And we must get it down so that we can experience the positive and the fulfilling side of life in a much more unpolluted manner than what we experience it when we are stressed and when we are filled with fear and anxiety and all these kinds of things. It makes the workplace miserable, obviously. It makes it the interesting part of this, dear everybody, is that if one person is stressed in a working community, the entire community picks up the stress of the one individual. It doesn't work the opposite. If there's a stressed community and one person moves into that community that's very relaxed, unless that person has got a significant position of power, if the individual that moves into a community has a significant position of authority and power, and that individual is very relaxed, calm, and in control, and he projects that calmness, that being in control, and that position of power, then the other individuals in the community tend to relax a bit. But if one individual becomes part of a good functioning, relaxed community, and that individual comes in with huge stress, it stresses up the community very easily. So it's very easy to stress up a community, and it's not so easy to use one individual as a facilitator to bring it down. It can happen, but it's not so easy. And then it's contagious. Obviously, that's what we just said. Stress. If I'm stressed, I make Lizette stressed because she's my wife. If I'm stressed in the working environment, I make all my colleagues stressed. So stress is something that we carry over without saying it. In other words, we don't say to one another, I'm stressed and I want you to be stressed as well. It doesn't work that way. We are not stupid. People are not stupid. If I can emphasize one thing, is people are not stupid. They feel one another and they can see something is not right. This person is not in a good space. And then they pick up the stress in that individual and they become stressed with that individual. Sometimes less, but sometimes even more. I've seen parents being so stressed about the exams that their teenage children, right, that they have more stress symptoms than the kids. So it's sometimes it's a bit over the top. Then collective stress is determined by those who are most stressed in the workplace. Now, this is quite an important point that I need to emphasize. The collective workplace stress is being determined by the 10% most stressed individuals in that working environment. So we cannot work with a straight line average. We have to work with an inflated average, about 25% in certain circumstances, under certain circumstances, but in most instances, the 10 to 15% most stressed people in a working environment defines the stress level of that working environment, because we tend to pick up to the stress level of those that we work and play with. So that's something that we need to keep in mind. Now, if we have a look at employee wellness, this is a huge thing currently, and it's becoming an increasingly bigger challenge. Why? Because the workplace is in a process of change, and change creates uncertainty, and uncertainty is one of the big reasons why people become stressed. So the wellness question in the workplace is currently one of the most burning questions for people who employ people, for those who are employers of people, all the employers. So what I have done is I found a few numbers, and I've taken the time to put them in brackets, and I will explain to them. These are very well published research, and you can either Google it or ask ChatGPT, Bart, or Popeye, or Meta, or whatever but just ask the right question. If you don't ask the right question, obviously they are not so intelligent, but let's leave that there. So the first thing is, we need to address the stress challenge in the workplace if we want to address the mental health of the collective workforce. In other words, what is mental health is, to what level am I capable to deal with all the challenges of life in a way that I am not compromised and I do not go to bed in the evening feeling that I've lost the fights of life during the day. So I live my life. I go to bed in the evening and I feel I had a good day. I had a good day. I did what I did. I got away with everything. That's my style. My lifestyle is, I would say to Lizette, I got away with everything today. So if you don't feel that you either got away with everything or you've been winning all the battles in your life, then your ego position becomes a bit compromised and you might build up. In other words, you start to stack the frustrations of, I am not on top of everything that I need to be on top of. So to improve the mental health of a collective of employees is quite important. And Stressmapper, I will show you how it will work in soon, well, very soon. Increase productivity. If you ask the research engines to find you articles on what is the difference in productivity between those working in a relaxed working environment compared to those working in a stressed working environment that is comparable to one another, that you can compare to one another, the results that they have found, and there are many research papers being done and published on this, and master's degrees and PhDs and whatever, that there's about a 10% straight line productivity difference between those working in a highly stressed compared to a low stress or a relaxed working environment. But there's a 30% difference in absenteeism. What stress does is it causes people to be absent from the workplace in two ways. Micro absenteeism is, I'm never at my desk, but I'm at the office. So how does it work? I'm either in the toilet, or I'm in the smoking den, or I'm in the coffee cell, or I'm making coffee, or I'm drinking coffee, or I'm talking to somebody, but I'm not at my working desk busy doing what I have to do as an employee. So micro absenteeism is, I'm at work, but I'm not at work. I'm at the office. I'm not at work. That's different. I'm at the office. So micro absenteeism as well as macro absenteeism. Macro absenteeism is, I take a day off, or 2 days off, or 3 days off because I've got an illness, whatever the illness might be. The difference between a stressed environment and a relaxed working environment, and there's a lot of studies being done, especially in the customer service environments with call centers and related workplaces. So there's a 30% difference in absenteeism, both on micro and macro absenteeism. Enhanced employee engagement. What stress does, it creates a workplace where people do not engage actively with one another about the job, and they do not actively engage with intelligence with the job that they're doing. They engage, they do it mechanically. So if you would ask somebody, so how do you see the future of this program that you are currently busy with? They just stare at you and they say nothing. Because that's not what they think. That what they're thinking is, how do I get the job done so that I can get out of the workplace? So the engagement is mechanical. It's not intelligent and it's not involved. So it's a bit disengaged. So there are no numbers published. I couldn't find any research, but everybody says this is what happens, but I couldn't find. I like numbers. I like to say, so where's your research? So everybody says it, but on staff employee turnover, in other words, what percentage of the people that we have employed resign? Now, dear everybody, I wrote a micro book on HR in the future world of work and AI. And one of the things is that I have ended the book with is, what is the cost of employee turnover? It is massive. It is massive. if a senior executive that's been a successful leader in a business for 5 years resign, the cost of replacing that person to the same level of where he resigned can be up to 5 times his annual salary. So if you haven't got the book, we'll send you a digital copy. But the cost of staff turnover, you've got to retrain the people, you've got to reskill them, you've got to spend management time on them, you've got to spend resources on them, you've got to spend for 6 months, and then they resign, and then you start spending again. So, and it's all stress related. Well, not all, but a lot of it is stress related. But stress, if you compare a relaxed working environment where people enjoy what they do in a relaxed manner, the employee resignation index is 30% lower than where they are stressed, uncertain about what's happening, and they are not informed, they're not allowed, blah, 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 all the other things that causes stress. Much better team dynamics. What stress does, it turns all team meetings into fights. It's not a team meeting, it's a fight. So I consulted at a company where the one said, we don't have team meetings, we have tennis matches. So we watch tennis matches. We have manager, assistant, manager, assistant, manager, assistant, manager, 15 love. Then manager, assistant, 15 all. So it's a fight. Every team meeting becomes a fight. And it was a joke in this environment and in this big corporate. It was a joke. They said, we don't have team meetings. We don't come together to discuss something. We come together to fight about things. And that's stress. It's a stress related, because what people do when they experience stress, they protect themselves. And that way of protecting themselves can very easily run into an aggressive behavior. Or they are absent, or they deal with it, but then they're on top of it. Then a healthier work environment. Obviously, we would like the working environments to be healthy and to be positive and creative and progressive. So stress destroys the positive, healthy working environment for people. Lower healthcare costs. This is an indirect cost for companies, but healthcare is a very expensive. The numbers are not reliable, and I haven't published the numbers here because I have a few questions about the numbers. But in certain careers, the medical claim for stress-related medical treatment is more than all the other claims put together in certain careers. And what it says is that there are certain working conditions and careers where the stress is of such a nature that it creates a level of discomfort that runs into medical costs that is higher than all the others put together. So this is a huge cost for the industry, but especially for the medical industry, like the medical aids, etc. If they can get the stress level of their members down, there's a direct correlation to their claims pattern. And then a less stressed workforce, enhanced creativity and innovation. We don't have to discuss that. It's just to have everything on the screen. You know what that means. Legal and ethical responsibility. This is a problem. In South Africa, not so much. But in some of the first world countries, Europe, America, Australia, Canada, there are implications for the employer if the employee can prove that their lives and their medical conditions have been compromised as a result of work-related stress. Now, in some of these countries, you're not allowed to send an email to an employee after working hours. You can go to court. And that is to prevent the stress of the workplace to run into their private lives. So what we see is that as the rights of the individual is being acknowledged by the legal systems in the world, they can claim for medical conditions if they can prove it is related to the stress that they experience in the workplace. So we live in a new world. So what we have to do now, dear everybody, is that we have to take a quick look at what will Stressmapper do for the business environment. The first thing is, it's an empowering tool to give leaders a picture of which life segments of their global workforce is the most stressful part of their lives. I'll give you a summary now. So they can know that in amongst our people, their operations side of their lives causes the most stress for them. Or their finances, or the workplace, or whatever it can be. We can even determine if the different divisions of a business experiences the same stress levels. So we can compare if sales has the same intensity of stress compared to operations, compared to customer service, compared to finance, compared to marketing, compared to whatever it might be. So we can collate and determine parts of the business and the stress intensities that they experience. It gives us an opportunity to continuously monitor the stress of a workforce. In other words, we can ask the people to do the stress mapper every 6 months. Just by way of explaining, you can do it as many times as you want. We have no restriction, because you might say, I don't think I answered all the questions exactly how I would like to answer it. You can do another one. So you can do them as often as you want, and in doing so, monitor your own stress levels and see, but also collectively in a business, see, how do we do in terms of our stress management capabilities and initiatives. Then the big one is that it gives us the opportunity as a leadership team of a business to plan stress management interventions in a very, very well-informed manner. The reason for this is your stress management mechanisms for people who are stressed in their everyday routines and operations is very different to stress management programs that you might make available for financial stress, or for workplace stress, or for relationship stress. There's no such thing as one size fits all, and we have a stress management workshop. No. These things are different, and we must be in a position to identify where do we focus our energy. But now, dear everybody, we have 311 stress mappers completed. So in the database, there are numbers, obviously thousands of number points, and we have got some news for you. It's mostly South African, so from the 311 that we have got in, about 270 of those results are from South Africans. So as we make progress and more people complete Stressmapper, obviously we will have different data sets. Currently, the most stressful segment in the lives of those who completed Stressmapper is in finance. And there's no question about it. Finance stands out. That's the number one stressor of those who completed Stressmapper, and collectively. In other words, what is the average? Their physical condition, in other words, the way in which they experience their physical bodies, is second. Now, we can do a lot with this, but not now, later on. their physical body and the way in which they experience their capabilities to use their physique in an optimal way is the second highest stress segment in their lives. Their living space, home, living space and place is third on the list. It's just a short bracket, less than physical condition, but it's in third place. Then the surprise to me is that the operations, the day-to-day, the everyday operations of life. I've got to get up, dress myself, see that the kids are dressed, then see that everybody gets breakfast, then get all the working things together for the day, drop the kids at school, then go to work. All those everyday routines of life, that sits in number 4. Number 5, in relationships. But now this is quite interesting. Most of the people that end up for counseling, the underlying reason for them asking for somebody for counseling is related to relationships. But it's only number 5 on the stress map that from the data that we currently have. Now, the interesting point is they don't go to the counselor for financial problems. They don't go for physical condition problems. They go to the medical doctor. Their home and living space, obviously, they see that probably as a relationship issue, and it can be. And then they don't go for counseling when their operations are such that they really battle to get through a working day. But relationships are on number 5. Then the shocking one for everybody, in South Africa, safety and personal security is last on the list. We are much less. And now I don't want to share the numbers with you in detail, but we are 20% less stressed about our safety and personal security than our relationships, and relationships are number 5 on the list. So we are much less worried about our physical and personal security, despite the fact that this is the ruling topic at the braai and at the rugby and wherever we go, safety and security. And did you hear this guy was hijacked, and that guy was in a car and a smash and grab, and that house was, despite all of that, finance, then physical condition, then home, living space and place, operations, relationships, and number 6, safety and personal security. So this is what we have, dear everybody, in terms of the Stressmapper. I just want to go back to one slide. What we are currently working on is this. So our programmers are currently working on the ability for a business to send Stressmapper out and then create stress groups, and to determine then what is the collective stress index of this group. There must be 5 individuals in the group for various reasons. We don't want to expose an individual and then say, it's that person that is so stressed up. So there must be 5 individuals to do a group stress analysis, but we are currently working on this, and we are banking on it that it will go live soon. Now, what soon means is difficult to explain, but soon. So if you haven't had the opportunity to do a Stressmapper worksheet, please let us know. We'll send you a complimentary one. In the meantime, you can go to stressmapper.com. There's quite a lot of information. There's a white paper on it, on stress. There are some videos on it. So we are currently in the phase of building the resources so that everybody can be trained and to at least understand stress and the impact it has in the same way, or as close as possible as we understand it as the research and development team. You can also go to your personal portal. You will see that the last little circle on your personal portal is Stressmapper. You can click on this and you can send invitations or buy for somebody a Stressmapper from there on. And then soon we will be able to send it from the Shuttermatch primary business engine as well. This now ends our discussion about Stressmapper in the business environment. So the video will end here, and I will allow for a bit of questions, and then we will carry on with the training part for our coaching community. I'm going to stop the screen and hand back to Lizette with thanks.
Great, thank you, Peter. There were no questions in the chat, so what I'll do is I am going to allow a few minutes for questions. I will enable the setting for you to unmute your microphone. Those of you that are familiar with how we do it, you can just switch on your video or raise your virtual hand, or just unmute. I'll keep an eye on the screen, and then I will just allow you to talk, ask your question. Peter will respond, and we will probably only give about 5 minutes. Otherwise, we might run into time difficulties for the training part, specifically focused on the coaches. So Peter, there is already a hand from Runel. Runel, just give me a moment. I need to just enable the setting for you to unmute your microphone. Great, you can unmute your microphone and you can go ahead with your question.
Hi, Lizette. Thank you so much. Thank you, Peter. Just a quick question. I didn't listen to the whole recording, but I will listen to it now. I just want to find out, is a Stressmapper more or less the same as the lifestyle audit, or is it completely different? Because some of the items sounds like the same.
No, it's not. It's completely different now. Stressmapper.
Okay.
What Stressmapper does, just so that everybody is on the same sheet. What you have take this, imagine this picture. I have a box full of Lego blocks in front of me, and they are all over. There are red ones, yellow ones, pink ones, green ones, white ones, And now, when I look at this box, I just see a collection of Lego blocks. What Stressmapper does, it says, give me those Lego blocks. I'll put them in different buckets for you. All the red ones, all the yellow ones, all the green ones, all the blue ones, all the white ones, so that you can see how many red ones you have, how many blue ones you have, etc. So it's a very easy to understand algorithm. It helps the individual not to look at their stress as a random collection of frustrations, but to package this and to say, most of your stress blocks are in your personal life, health, and your body. So there's no psychology in it. There's no advanced like shadow match. We always have to explain why are we a behavioristic model, blah blah blah. There's no such thing as that. It helps it, and the important thing, while we have a minute, is that the fact that the individual reads the questions and the answer is the first step that they take to understand their stress and frustrations.
Okay.
Next step is when they see the results, then that's the second step. But it's a nice question. Thank you very much.
Thank you much, Peter. I appreciate it. Makes sense.
Thanks, Runel. And Peter, there's another question just in the chat, and the question says, where does the workplace or career feature in that list in order of priority of what makes people most stressed and least stressed? You know, that list that you gave, where does career and workplace fit? That's the question in the chat.
Lizette, I haven't listed it. It's in third place with exactly the same score as the other. I just forgot to mention it, but it sits in the third, on the level of the third place, exactly the same score. Well, decimal differences.
Great, thank you. Paul, your video is switched on. Do you want to ask a question? Go ahead.
Thanks, Peter. Just in terms of a business or an organization, finance is the top one. Obviously, the type of questions you can ask. Finance is all the Lego blocks, but there are other sort of different colored reds in the finance. Would a company be able to use this and say, okay, this is a time to talk about finance in terms of debt counseling, dealing with money, budgeting and stuff like that? Or would that be too ambitious to make that assumption in terms of giving feedback?
Yeah, Paul, this is a fabulous question. It's a great question. Initially, I didn't want to measure finance as a standalone stressor. My conviction was that it's part of my life, because The way in which I spend money could be the reason why I'm in financial trouble. But the way I earn money could also be a reason. But the way in which my wife spends money could be a reason for my financial trouble, or the way in which my children spend money could be a reason for that. So I was reluctant to measure finance as a standalone stressor. And I then decided to measure it for this reason. It doesn't matter what the reason for the stress in finance is. If it's a stressor, it's a stress. If I'm stressed about my finances, whether it's because of my wife, my income, blah, 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 doesn't matter, it's a stressor. So you are quite right. Finance is rooted in all the others, but it's an independent stress segment. Now your question is, I think in the workplace, what we must be able to do is to say to an employer, start with conducting or presenting workshops on financial planning, budgeting, how to balance your income and your expenses, how to save on your expenses, how to make sure that your critical things are paid first, all those basic things. All depends on where your workforce sits in the food chain of income. But if finance comes out in the workplace as their primary stressor, it gives the leadership team the opportunity to say, okay, the business cannot give an increase of 20% to 10,000 people, but we can start to facilitate workshops to help them plan and inform them in a way that they plan their lives better. It's a great question. Thanks.
Great, thank you, Paul. Let's allow one more question. I'm keeping an eye on the screen. Let me just go to the second screen as well. I don't see any hands. I don't see any videos. I don't see any virtual hands. I think that's it, Peter. Let me just see. There's another question in the chat. From what age or phase in life would you be able to apply Stressmapper? Can high school learners do it? I'll answer yes, definitely. You will see if you start the Stressmapper, and those of you that still have your Stressmapper and you haven't started, when you go to the introduction page, there's all the T's and C's and a little video that you can watch. And then there's an option for you to say, I'm a full-time student. And then the questions that populate are related to an academic environment, that of a student or a high school learner. So definitely yes. It's just important that the person, if they are still in high school or at university and a full-time student, that they choose the option and they select I'm a full-time student, so that they get the questions related to an academic career or academic journey at that point in time. So yes, obviously, and absolutely it can be used for high school learners. I don't know if you want to add to that, Peter.
Lizette, now I think we must just carry on then if the questions are done.
Yes, I think we can. I'm just going to again disable the setting for the microphones, or enable the setting to mute the microphones, and then we will unmute again when you are finished with the second part of the training. Thanks.
Lizette, thanks. What's frustrating about Stressmapper for us is that people don't read. And they don't see that there's a different worksheet for students and just working people. Well, we also make provision for people who are retired and who are not in a career currently. So the answers make provision. But we have two different worksheets for students and non-students. Let me put it that way. And then people click, I'm a student. And then they come back to us and say, but I've now purchased one and it's all student language and I'm not a student. And then we say to them, but you've clicked student. So please, everybody, just be aware of this and let's not, just read. It's very easy. Just read.